It's a question many want the answer to. Is it safe to reopen schools? With parents and students anxious to know when or if they'll be returning before summer.
Today, Premier Ford issued a 5-page letter to more than 50 public health agencies and teachers unions asking them all to weigh in. Dr. David Williams, Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health, who's been at the center of many of the province's decisions throughout the pandemic, says schools are safe for in-person learning.
All moving in the right direction, and it'd be great if the students, in my mind, could be back in for those 3 to 4 weeks before the summer break and then getting ready. What we'd hope for is a more normal fall program for them.
Despite his beliefs, Premier Ford sent out a letter to local health networks, teachers unions, and Dr. Williams himself asking for their input on the matter. While Ford touches on why returning to schools is important for students' mental health, he goes on to list why it's a risk. He references stats about vaccine efficiency, kids' place in the vaccine rollout. Quote, under Ontario's reopening plan, indoor gatherings won't commence until July. Should indoor school instruction resume before then? And the threat of new variants, which Ford continues to mention, is the federal government's fault. Quote, more dangerous variants that have now entered our communities through Canada's borders. Political analyst Keith Leslie says Ford should just make a decision.
They could be taking decisive leadership and just saying, here's what you have to do to plan. We'll be coming back to schools in the fall. We're even going to use over the summer some time to put in some new HVAC equipment that we should have done before now. But instead, they're going to consult. That just appears to be more dithering instead of real leadership.
Keith suggests perhaps Ford is just taking the temperature of the room before he pulls the trigger.
The language he's using seems to indicate that that decision has been made. Schools will not reopen until September, but he doesn't want to bite that bullet now until he gets a consensus or some sort of lack of consensus from all these stakeholder groups.
Ford gave a deadline of 5 p.m. tomorrow for people to respond. Dr. Williams says he's already heard from most local health networks.
The feedback I had as of today, all the ones around the GTHA say they have can do the case contact management and they're prepared to have their schools opened.
Dr. Williams says Porcupine Timmins is the only health network not ready to welcome students back.